we are on Treaties 6 and 8 territories of First Nations, as well as Alberta Métis Region number 4. So as you enjoy yourselves out there today, I hope that you take the time to remember the stewardship of the First Nations and Métis who have been out here for millennia to the present, and that you are also stewards of the land for the present and the future generations as well. As we make this corner here, if you take a look to the left-hand side, you will get a great view of the Athabasca Glacier. Athabasca is a Cree word, and it means the place where reeds all the way up to the Athabasca Glacier done on horseback. Now I feel like doing that on horseback would be quite an interesting journey. However, there's so much tourism here that by the 1950s, Parks Canada wanted to regulate the commercial activity on the glacier, so they only awarded one permit. And that one permit was given to a man by the name of Bill Ruddy, who lived in Jasper, Alberta. You may have been by Starbucks, and if you were, you may have seen that yellow vehicle sitting outside. That vehicle is called the Bombardier. And Bombardier is a vehicle that is made by Bombardier out of Quebec, and that is the vehicle that Bill Ruddy used for tours on the Athabasca Glacier. However, by 1969, Bill Ruddy was done doing tours on the glacier, so he ended up selling his permit to Brewster Transport. Brewster Transport, wanting to accommodate more tourists, went to a company out of Calgary, Alberta, called Foremost, to come up with a new vehicle to accommodate tourists, which the staff eventually called the Shake and Bake. And the reason why for that is the vehicle had very poor suspension, so made for an extremely bumpy ride, and bake because the vehicle had very poor air circulation, so on a nice hot sunny day, you felt like you were baking inside of a sauna. As well, the tracks on the vehicle were not very good for the glacier, so all those things combined made for a not very good experience for many of the guests. So they went back to Foremost in Calgary to come up with a new vehicle, and Foremost came out with what they called the Ice Explorer. Originally it was called the Terrabus. So from 1981 to 1983, the Bombardier, the Shake and Bake, and the Ice Explorer, originally called the Terrabus, were all being used simultaneously for tours on the glacier. However, after 1983, they've only been using the Ice Explorer. That's because it is a more comfortable experience for the guests, but the build of the vehicles is actually also very, very good, so it has minimal impact on the glacier as well. As we get up here, you will get a glimpse of some of the Ice Explorers that we do have on site, but on your way up there, you will get to see more as well. So again, please continue to remain seated until we get fully parked. I'm just going to make sure that your Ice Explorer driver is ready for you. Make sure that you have all of your belongings with you though, because I do not want anyone to forget anything important, because there is a possibility that I will not be driving you wherever you're headed next.
Go, thank you. अबे तो पूरा मॉन्स्टर ट्रक है। यार वीडियो के चक्कर में गिरा ना पूरी ट्रिप से। बेटा को पकड़ ले। बेटा
So ever since I was about 5 years old, I've always wanted to drive a monster truck, and at 45 years old, I finally get to do it. But never in my life did I ever think that every single one of these buses would be different. They may all look the same, but every time you get into a driver's seat of one, they all have different funny little quirks to them that are all just not normal. That one is a Kodiak version. So all of our buses have originally been made by Foremost, a company based out of Calgary. But then over the years, they have been refurbished. This one is refurbished by Foremost itself in 1996. But then we also had other companies refurbish a few other ones, like the Kodiak company, as well as Wajax. So every bus is a little bit different, a little bit unique. So learning how to drive them all, they make you learn how to drive every single one, and we have 21 of them in our fleet. So it's quite fun, actually. Some of them have an amazing turning radius that are able to turn into a parking stalls if you're driving a small little car, and ones like this one here that I'm driving, sometimes it takes about a half a football field. Some can exceed up to 15 kilometers an hour up this hill. We are currently sitting at a whopping 9 kilometers per hour. Woohoo! They can average out between 20 and 30 kilometers an hour. They do not let us drive faster than 25. We're not allowed. Alarms go off. We get in trouble. It's all good. This bus in particular is 17 meters long due to the fact that it is wheelchair accessible. The tires inflate and deflate at the push of a button. They're quite fun to drive. So, the Athabasca Glacier. If you look right at the very top, you can just barely see it. It actually meets up with the sky. That is the Columbia Icefield itself, and it actually stretches up to this mountain on the right-hand side. That is 165 square kilometers up that mountain. Or up that Icefield is how big it is. I do have a picture of it on my phone if those of you are interested and want to see a topical view from it. I can show that to you when we're off the bus and walking around. This rock and dirt out of her way. They're called lateral moraines. If you look over to the right hand side, there's another lateral moraine. It stretches down in front of the ancient forest, has a knife-like edge. So at the widest point, the glacier from all the way over there to all the way over here was about 2 kilometers wide. So she was quite big at one point. So it takes an average of 4 to 5 years to make one layer of glacial ice, and it takes anywhere between 150 to 160 feet of snow just to make 2 to 3 layers of glacial ice. So it is quite a long process. Now I promised you guys a steep road. This is the steepest commercially used road in North America. We will be heading down it shortly. I will remain quiet as we do go down, as I do need to concentrate on the bus and my gauges to make sure everything is working as it should. But when we get to the bottom, I will continue on with our tour. I will have to make sure that this tractor gets out of our way before we proceed down.
No, I don't think so.
At this point in time, the ice that is currently underneath of us will be gifting up some of our resources for a little while longer. If you have a look over on your right-hand side, just over this edge here, you'll see another moraine, where the center of it is ice and the outside of it is the rock and dirt. It just looks like somebody's cut it in half. Now we will have to actually wash our tires, get all this mud and dirt off before we head up to the glacier. So you want to keep her as clean and as white as possible. So I'm going to need about 6 volunteers to jump onto the bus with me to wash my tires. Do I have any takers? Believe it or not, we actually have what we call a tire wash up here. It is made fully of glacial meltwater. Glacial meltwater, it comes down from the glacier itself. It pools at the bottom here. We wash our tires in there by driving through it very slowly and up onto the glacier, on the ice itself. Now the reason that we do wash our tires is due to the fact of the albedo effect. The albedo effect, if you guys know what it is basically, if you're like, for example, you're wearing a white t-shirt on a hot sunny day, you're going to be much cooler than if you're wearing a dark colored or black shirt on a hot sunny day. The white reflects the sun, the dark colors actually attract the sun and the heat, causing it to want to melt faster. Now I know you're looking at both sides of the
Come. What? Yes, it's a glacier like ice in your fridge. Wanna touch it? Oh, it's too cold. Ah!
नहीं उसको कुछ नहीं होगा
Watch your heads, everybody. Before that I should ever consider camping out on a glacier, keeping in mind that the winds up here can range anywhere between up to 100 to 150 kilometers an hour. No? There's a gentleman by the name of Norman Colley who did just that back in 1898. So even though it's a little bit chillier today, it was much colder back then. He was out here in search of two mountains called Mount Brown and Mount Hooker. You see, a botanist by the name of David Douglas swore these mountains were supposed to be bigger than the Door Mountains are about half the size of the one Douglas has Mount Everest. He did end up climbing up Athabasca mountain up here, and when he got to the top of it, he did find called the Icefield. Him and his colleagues then came down and camped out on the glacier for a few days while finding ways to traverse to access the glacier and all the way up. normal lakes. Now our glacier is always moving. She is moving about a foot every 3 days. And when she does so, she actually is grinding up the rock.
Or I bet they wish they could. That is actually our pumping station. That is where the water is filtered and sent to our Discovery Center as well as our staff camp. So if you did happen to grab coffee from the Starbucks at any point today, or if you do later, the coffee that you have would be made with the water pulled directly from that lake. Now, I'm willing to bet that would probably be the first lake water Starbucks coffee you'd ever have. I'm lucky enough to have them every morning, and despite working here, pay full price. Smaller streams that then reconnect with the river as it moves north. The reason this happens is because there's constantly new obstacles being introduced into the riverbed in the form of rocks, boulders, sediment that's getting pulled off of the valley wall and off the side of the mountains, and it finds its way into the riverbed there.